Welcome to the Building Better Brains in the Spotlight series with Sian Chambers Valance. This episode is all about the power of play, which I am so excited to be talking about because it's one of my favourite topics. Play has the potential to create healthy relationships, positive prosocial skills, regulated nervous systems, more integrated healthy brains, and it helps us really learn to be human beings. Play has been a part of human nature since time began. Play has always been a part of who we are, and only the most intelligent animals actually play. There's been lots of research done on this, and play is a big part of actually being able to build intelligent brains. We need these play inputs, so the more opportunities we can give our children when they're young to play in a sensory way, to play physically, to play collaboratively with other people, to play creatively, to express themselves, they're going to build healthier brains and nervous systems, which results in better mental health and well-being down the track. And I would say absolutely, as adults, we need to learn or relearn and reconnect to these skills as well. Our society very much downplays the power of play and doesn't necessarily understand the research and the science around it. And we need to make this as part of our lives. It's our opportunity to fill our cups by reconnecting to ourselves and others through creative means and through playing. Play is mindfulness in action. It is when we're truly present with ourselves in the flow of creating something, of expressing something, or with someone else. If we're sitting beautifully, mindfully with our child and we're responding to their play and we're in the moment, in the narrative with them, we are practicing mindfulness and we are allowing our child to be felt, to be heard, to be understood, to really feel from a body point of view, from a brain point of view, that we're totally there immersed in the experience with them. And that's what helps our children grow this sense of trust in relationships and in the world, that's going to be able to meet their needs, that's going to make them feel like they've got a sense of agency and voice and choice when they go out there, when they're all growing up and start their own journey into adulthood and start their own parenting journey. So play helps us grow these healthy, well-integrated brains. Well, what does that mean? We know that a well-integrated brain is a healthy brain, and that means that it's a brain that has lots of neural connections that pass from left to right, right to left, back to front, front to back, and up and down. From the lower parts of the brain, the more primitive parts of the brain, like the brainstem and the limbic system, so the parts that are really focused on our survival, keeping us safe, and keeping us connected with others. As human beings, we are social animals. We need each other in order to survive and thrive. It's incredibly important for the human race to be able to have these connections and to feel safe making these connections. So we've got this whole brain integration that happens through play. We can link our left and right hemispheres. So our right, which is more dominant in terms of image, in terms of conceptualization, and emotions and all of these, it connects more into our limbic system, our big emotional system, and our lower parts of the brain, and linking it to our left brain, which makes sense of a lot of these sensations and experiences and emotions. And the left brings the language in, so we can start building those coherent narratives around our past, around our traumas, around our stressful experiences that we've been through, which can actually help us heal and grow new neural connections around these experiences and disentangle these neural connections that might have become fused throughout these trauma and high stress experiences when we were younger that might have happened to us. So play is an incredibly powerful vehicle for healing, for connection, for regulation. I teach a lot of parents filial therapy, which is basically teaching them a form of using child-centered play therapy with their own child. So teaching them how to attune and connect, provide safety and regulation and mindfulness through play sessions with their child. So it's such a privilege to do that work and to see the transformation in the lives of these families and in these family relationships, just by teaching them these skills. And I see it every day in the work that I do with mental health professionals, teaching them about the neurobiology of play, how important it is for us to grow healthy brains, how play is the foundation of our neural networks in the brain. And I experience it every day as a practitioner in dealing with children and families and adults, even in their own play and creative experiences. And to see children come in after experiencing some pretty difficult stuff in life and be able to play this out in the themes that they choose and they lead in the playroom is incredible, and it's so empowering for the child to be able to take control of what's happened to them, because a lot of the time trauma and these periods of high stress take away that control from their lives, so that we can't make sense of these things that have happened. And that's when trauma occurs. We get locked in the past, we get locked back into that trauma. But play and creativity, because it accesses the whole brain, helps us actually process through what we need to build this new story around our trauma, what happened to us, but also in the moving forward in our future story as well. So I see this every day, and I always say to parents, we just need to learn to get out of the way of our children, learn the skills to facilitate the environment and the relationship, and then allow our children to actually do the processing that they need to do, because they are very wise beings. And I find that a lot of the time the words that come out of their mouth are far beyond where we're at as adults, because we've learnt so many defenses and survival strategies that kind of get in the way of what we really need to be talking about. But kids just kind of say it how it is, and it floors me every time. So I'm very, very thankful for the work that I do. So play also helps us get hits of dopamine, which is the pleasure chemical in the brain. It's part of our pleasure reward system, which is housed in our limbic system in the brain with all of our emotions. And this actually makes it more likely that we're going to repeat these interactions, these positive interactions and these experiences, because it makes us feel good to do so. So we'll want to repeat that and do it again. So that's a really great outcome. It also produces something called oxytocin, which is the bonding chemical. It's the trust and safety hormone in the brain. And so that increases the trust between people when they play together, when they create together. We actually feel like this is a solid person for me. This is someone that's got my back, that I can turn to when I am feeling big feelings and emotions, or I am feeling overwhelmed, and I've got someone there. It also helps us reduce cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It's able to process and give a positive outlet, if it's redirected well, for the adrenaline that comes on with the cortisol when we're stressed, and fills our body and makes us want to move. And it's often when you see kids, bouncing around and jumping on couches and off the walls, and we want to get them outside. It's, they've got some stress hormones running around in their bodies, and they need an outlet for that, and play allows them to do it. Whether it's physical play is incredibly important for growing these foundations in the brain, the lower parts of the brain. Sensory, kinesthetic play, which is about immersive sensory experiences. So the more experiences we can give ourselves and our children, the more we resource these lower parts of our brainstem. Things like shaving foam, or playing in jelly, using finger paint, using dried or wet rice, dried or wet sand, lentils, water with colours in it. Any way that we can actually involve all of the senses helps us ground ourselves into the body, helps support and regulate our stress responses, and helps us build these well-integrated, healthy brain systems. So it's all really, really, really powerful stuff that play actually gives us. Play also gives us an opportunity to try out new ideas, to try out new things, to be a little scientist. I see this all the time when I'm working with adult groups, if we're doing play activities or Lego build challenges, or if I'm working with children, and it helps build resiliency, cause and effect thinking, creativity, cognitive flexibility. It's like, okay, well, if I try this, what will happen? Oh, this happens. So we can experiment with outcomes in a very non-confrontational way. And we can try out new ways of being, new roles. We can push boundaries. We can explore all of these things through play, and it makes us feel good. So, look, I could not advocate for play more highly. The way that our society has been moving away from play and starting academic learning at an earlier age, and I know it's happening overseas as well, not just in Australia, is very, very deeply unsettling for me, because it's against all of the developmental literature and science that we have, that children just need this foundation so much in order to develop the lower parts of their brain, their social emotional skills, their emotional IQ. All of these things that evidence shows actually dictate their future academic success. The academics and the learning part of the brain, that's kind of the icing on the cake. If we don't actually focus on building a strong resourced foundation and using that throughout our children's lives and our own lives, using it as a resource, then it's just not a sustainable model, and we end up having a lot of problems down the track. And I think so much of the rise in anxiety and depression in young children in our society, and hyperactivity, and a whole lot of behavioral issues and aggression in boys, I deal with a lot of this in my caseloads, is because of this, is because we've actually deprived them of something that's a necessity for growing their healthy brains and nervous systems. So I will never stop advocating for play. I hope that you will become an advocate for play as well. We have a lot of courses on our Building Better Brains Australia site where mental health professionals can learn more about the science of play and how to incorporate it into their practice. Parents can learn how to run special playtimes with their children, or work on attachment if that's been a bit of an issue in their relationships. And there's lots and lots of ways that we can all learn to do this together. So let's bring play back as front and center in our lives and in our children's lives, and I'm sure we'll build a healthier generation by doing that. Thanks for listening today to our In the Spotlight session on the power of play.